What I want to be when I grow up, I want to be a president.
My life matters.
We always talk about white people killing black people, but we don't talk enough about black on black crime. We kill each other.
My life matters.
Kansas City is different.
Stuff that happened at a moment.
My life matters.
Say for instance, somebody made me mad, I do the first thing that comes to my mind.
My life matters.
We just go and just retaliate now. Or just get revenge on anything.
My life matters.
I mean, we've got about 170 homicides already in the city this year.
My life matters.
I saw the news, and an 11-year-old girl was shot and killed, and that's all I saw.
Uh-oh, my water bottle just fell, you guys. Can you all hear me okay? Welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. I'm Gary B. Jr., your media consultant, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today. We got some cool folks on. We got somebody from Montana, Miss Smith 4241. We got Kay Vasbo, my friend Christopher from Norway. Welcome, welcome. We've got Bamjos from Burkina Faso. I've never heard of Burkina Faso, so I'm excited about that. Actually, I've never heard of Kalispell, Montana either. So these are all really cool connections to see you all joining the community and being a part of this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited to have you all be a part of this discussion. For those who are new to Free Show Friday, what we typically like to do is we like to do a quick review of what's been going on in the community as best we can. I usually will go over some things on my YouTube channel and then also some things that have been going on the updates side of Free Show. So we're going to check that out. Then we're going to go through some beginner, intermediate, and advanced level topics, at least as best as I can do. I'm not going to say I'm the most advanced user of Free Show. I will say Christopher is. So as long as he's on, he's able to give us some advanced level tips. So I really appreciate that, welcoming him in. And but the whole time, throughout the entirety of it, I need you all to ask questions. So the whole time is always Q&A time. And today the focus is going to be all about using, let me pull this back in. It's all about using announcements. All right. And let's see here, turn that on. So announcements in Free Show. This is something I've seen some questions about lately. And every church that I've been to physically, that's a big question that they have on their mind as well, is how do I make my announcements loop, or how do we make announcements? Is there a way to make the announcement show in the lobby and all that kind of stuff? We're going to try to answer as many of those questions as we can in a fun and creative way. But in the meantime, post those questions that you might have. I love to hear from you to understand what's going on in your world. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to just my latest video. I haven't posted very many videos lately, but the latest one is completely different in terms of the branding. It's not going to be the big yellow brand. It's the first one I think I've done ever that's not all yellow and orange in the background. When I think about that, that's hilarious. If I scroll through here, let's see here. Well, this one wasn't either. This is the animated map. So that one I would say is one of the first ones. But everything else is usually going to be like the bright golden yellow, orange background all the way back to my very first one 10 months ago. So if we scroll back up, this one's about exporting your stage. This was actually a question and answer option. And somebody asked about how do they get their stage from one computer to another, the stage layouts. And so I gave my best answer for it, but there's also more to that. So one of the things I want you guys to pay attention to, and I'm actually going to do this in the middle of the video, is I want to make sure we see this comment from Christopher here, and I'm going to pin it because that's what I intended to do when I first saw it this morning, is that he gave some good feedback in the fact that most people don't have the config folder that I talk about in that video. So make sure you check out that comment. If you don't see the config folder, you need to go ahead and follow the steps that he's talking about in terms of hitting back up everything and then move the stage shows.json and then hit restore and select that file to import your stage layouts, which is a really cool way to do it. And I just didn't know it. So I love that he was able to share that feedback. So that one's going to be pinned at the top on that video. So there's two different ways now. And that's what I say in the video at the end is, hey, if there's another way you know to do it, let me know. So this is there. For those who have not saved their user setting at a data location, which I did, you're going to have it to where you're going to do that step that's showed up here in the comments down here by Christopher, which is great. All right. So that's the only video, exporting your stage layouts. It's not a very long video. I think it might be 3 or 4 minutes maybe. So really quick video, check it out. It's really helpful, especially if you plan to do any work on another device at home, offsite, and you want to make sure you can get that layout that you designed at the church, at the ministry location or something like that on a separate computer. Really cool thing. All right. Now, the other thing is Christopher's been working. So a new feature is an audio equalizer. I have not got to check that out, but I can't wait to see what it looks like. So let me see here, this audio equalizer. Let me see, if I go to audio, I see audio stream. Ooh-wee, on the right side here. This is new, all right? So I'm using the beta 3, which is something I don't necessarily recommend you do, but I try to do that on the live stream so you can see if I do run into any glitches or any challenges or anything like that. But at the same time, my recommendation is always run with the most stable version of FreeShow that you have, that you've used and you tried. And if you want to use a newer version, even one that's a full-fledged version that's not a beta, make sure that you do a run through of your entire service before you do that, just so you can see any nuances, because everybody's service is unique. And I see Steve Bainey is joining us. Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Steve Bainey is one of our winners of the YOLO Cast live streaming, and he's been able to use that in his ministry, which I'm excited about. We'll be doing that, I believe, next week. That's what I'm at least got it planned for, because I believe that is the last Friday. Yeah, so the 31st is going to be the last Friday in October. So that's when we'll do our giveaway. We're going to give away one YOLO Cast 1-year subscription for your live streaming for your ministry, which is a really cool feature to have, because you can embed that into your website, your live stream, in a really cool way. All right. And so we got this equalizer here. Let me play some music here. Let me see. So I'm going to turn this on, but I'm going to turn it down on you guys' end. Let's see here. All right. So I can see the equalizer playing there, and I can see it up here, which is really nice. And then you got the option here for outputs. Oh, wow. I like that. I like that a lot. And then I can turn this down with the slider. Ooh, this is clean. This is clean. So this reminds me of what I'm looking at when I look at like OBS or something like that, but more polished. Like I said, it's just a really clean feel and look, because it shows you each of your outputs that you've got in terms of my primary and my live streaming. They both are showing here, and if they are playing any music, you'll see that individual audio track for them in terms of what's coming out of both of those, which is really cool. So I like that. I like that. Excellent stuff. I love that, Christopher. Let me see what else we got. Let me see. Let me stop the music real quick. I'm just letting it play. All right. And so audio equalizer is a very new feature. I love that. At least what I saw. There's probably a lot more to it. So Christopher, jump in and let me know if there's something else I missed about it, but it looks really clean. Let's see, some tweaks here. So controlling active timers from the clear button. Oh, I like that too. So controlling active timers from here. Oh, I'm guessing that's up there like that. So let's start this over. So I can pull it in and I can start this timer. And I don't even remember playing with this up here before. I don't even know if I've ever tried it, but in the clear all section, you're going to have icons that represent basically each layer. So you got your background layer, your slide layer, your overlays. And so let me break down what those are. So this is the images or videos that you'll have in the background. The slides are usually going to be the text or anything that you've put on an individual slide. Okay. And then your overlays are going to be found in your overlays tab here. These are things that pop up like what you see like for logos or lower third titles and things like that. And then you got music that plays, and you also have timers. All right. So if you hover over the bottom of any of those, there's on my theme layout, it's really just like a lighter gray version of it. Depending on your layout, you'll see it in maybe a different color, but you can click that and it'll give you the feature. So right now I've got a Gabby Jr. lower third title showing up here. I can just remove or clear that one thing by clicking on that, and it'll clear out. Let me show you guys. So right now, this is what's showing up on my output, okay? Announcements in FreeShow, right? And so if I clear that out by clicking on that, what ends up happening is it goes away. It doesn't show announcements in FreeShow anymore, all right? And so you can control individual layers by just selecting right below them. You'll get a little drop down. It'll show you pretty much everything that's in there. So if I hit this one, you'll see the FreeShow Friday countdown is the actual show that I'm running, and it's showing slide 9 out of 9. which is this one over here. It's my last slide in this particular show for my intro countdown. So I've got a number of different slides for my intro countdown. Let's see here. What else we got going on? So Christopher says that's the audio mixer added in beta 2. At the top, there's an equalizer tab. Oh, so at the top, oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. Okay, so the equalizer tab is right here. Oh, gotcha. So we're talking about audio equalizer for like effects. That's serious. Okay, so this is the mixer. Okay, so this is just showing the audio mixer. I'm standing corrected here so you guys can understand what we're talking about. So in beta 2, this was released, this mixer section, but at the top right, above, I'm in the audio tab. So in the audio tab, we've got this enable the equalizer. Ooh, okay, so let me see here. All right, let me turn it up a little bit. So I got some music playing here. We're gonna play with this equalizer just for a second. I'm gonna let you guys hear this too. All right, so I got it about 75% for you guys and for me. All right, so I'm gonna go to the equalizer. I'll enable it. And you can drag down different frequencies. And you can see how it pulls down those highs. I can bring down the lows. Make those less pronounced. You can bring up certain areas. Oh, wow. This is crazy. And I'm doing this with music, which most people may not, but it looks like you can save it. You can name it. You can go back to the default. And this is what it normally sounds like. And then you can name your own presets. And I can disable that as well. Very nice. Very nice. I'm gonna turn that back down for you guys, and then I'll turn it down for me too. But that is really sweet in terms of having that control in the software. I think to me, the biggest benefit of that is if you run any microphones even through it, which I don't do currently, but if you go to the microphone section, you'll see all the different microphones and inputs you can have connected to it. That becomes really helpful for those type of setups as well. And so music-wise, audio-wise, you're playing something, you can control that with the equalizer. Very sweet, very sweet. Let me stop the music. And so let's see what else we got going on here. Dilson Abram is on. Saying nice to see Christopher K. Vasbo on. Absolutely. Then we got Steve Bainey says, your top right shows multiple outputs. I might like to send full screen output of lyrics to the projectors, but only lower third with blank background to the live stream. That's exactly what I do, Steve. And so he's referencing my upper right section over here. Let me go, I'm gonna drag it, see if I can make it any bigger without it doing a double stack. All right, so, okay, so if you go too far, it'll line them up next to each other and shrink back those options. So I'm gonna bring it back just to where it does that. Okay, and so your preview section in the upper right is where you'll see all of your outputs that you have enabled. In my settings, I've got multiple outputs down here. You notice down at the bottom tab, I've got multiples, but I only got 2 that have a check mark, the live 2 training, and then I got primary 1. And I do have this 2 live training. Forgive me, it looks funky. I was just doing some practice and playing around with stuff. I could easily turn this one on and turn that one off, but I just kept this one on. And so you got all these different options for your outputs. You can enable any of them. So let's see here. This is a back screen. Let me see what that one looks like. This one's going to a particular window. I don't want that. If I do any others, I want them to be like a transparent invisible window. Okay, so if I enable this one, it now adds a third one and it gives you the name. So 1 primary, and then this second one becomes the back screen, which is here, and then the live 2 training goes down here, and they just show up. The words show up here in order, just like the frames or the previews show up. All right, and so these I think they just default to alphabetical order at the top, and that's how they layer up in the actual preview window as well. All right. And so, yes, so that is how you would show or see your multiple outputs, and you can just as easily disable it and it'll default back. For me, I've got the 2 that I typically use. And then I can turn my title back on and you'll see that this is my main primary output. This is what you guys were seeing for the intro countdown. Those who see my intro countdown, I just run that as a primary and it's still running through NDI right into OBS. But at the same time, when I go to a scene like this on OBS, I've still got my overlay with my title up there at the top. Okay. So you can see that there as well. And I'm sweating on you guys. I had a good workout this morning and I'm recovering from it. I think I cooled down pretty good, but I was like, I need to get a towel just to make sure I don't get too hot up here. All right. And so, yeah, so that's a really cool point, Steve. We can talk more about that. If you got questions that come up as I describe that, make sure to ask those throughout because there's a lot to be said about outputs. There's a lot of videos that I've made about that, and I believe others have as well. But there's one, I think one of my latest ones might be called Outputs Done Right, and it goes in depth about outputs. It's one of the older versions of FreeShow, but the principles are the same. Okay, the principles of how they work are the same. You might see some newer features in here that are not going to be a part of that older video, but the principle of how the outputs work is going to be very much the same. And then there's another one about using OBS with FreeShow outputs altogether. Is one that's even later than that I would recommend. And let me show you guys that just to give a good reference. If we go back. All right, so, and I get this asked a lot, what videos do I recommend? I think last week, someone asked about that. Tony Mobley asked about that last week. So let me give you guys my recommendation. If you want to learn more about FreeShow outputs, this one is a good one. This is the one set up and manage lower thirds. And in this one, that's a good one for understanding lower thirds. Part of it is an output. And then there was one that's like called set up from start to finish. And I don't remember the dates that I do this stuff, you guys, so forgive me. Okay, so it has to be up here somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Here we go, total setup and walkthrough to connect FreeShow to a screen and OBS. So this one is basically me showing a physical connection of a setup of a screen along with the NDI or wireless section of it connecting to OBS to where you're connecting an output to software, not to a physical monitor. And that's something that's pretty unique and pretty cool that you can do with FreeShow. And let me do something real quick, you guys. I'm gonna turn on my fan here. I've got it, I just never turn it on. Or I never did turn it on. All right, and so that would be my recommendation is this one here. And then there's another one just called Outputs Done Right. Let me see, outputs. All right, so this one here, this one came out 7 months ago, but this is one that's really good to help you understand some features and factors of outputs. And I think the very first one I did a couple months before that is probably the most viewed video out of all the ones I've made. This one's got over 5,000 views, so you can check that one out. That one's an early edition. That might have been like FreeShow, I don't know, 1.3 maybe. I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't put those labels on those back then, so I'm starting to do that now so we can keep up with it to kind of give you an idea of what's going on and what's out there. All right, so let's talk about these announcements in FreeShow. So many of you want to do like an opening slideshow or video show, and you currently probably do that using like a PowerPoint or something like that, or you make your slides on Canva or Photoshop, or you got somebody on the team that is really good at graphic design or something along those lines, and they do all that and they give it to you maybe in JPEGs, which is really cool, right? So I'm not here to say how you need to manage your creation of your announcements, but however you get your announcements, there's a way to make them play really well in FreeShow. And one way that people like to probably consider is making it all into a video. That way is fine. I think that's probably the least flexible way. I know for me, for example, all of my pieces of my intro countdown, which is kind of like the announcements to me of a ministry, because a lot of times what people will do is they'll run their announcements before service. It could be a part of your countdown, which is to me is a really creative way to do it, because you're allowing people to be made aware of something. You're giving information out in a time that there's no other information going out, right? So you might have a countdown, which is what I do, and you can still give people information about the upcoming events or upcoming meetings, topics or themes for the next services, or the how they can, I don't know, give to something special or whatever it may be. So all that stuff is helpful. And what I've done is I've actually made mine as a series of unique videos. So this one's an 8-second video that I use to go in between each of my longer videos. So this is the Welcome to Free Show Friday. And I just put that in between. For you all, you might have a slide that says, welcome to our church, whatever the name of your church is. And it could be a video slide, right? Now, I'm telling you what I do. This is not a limitation for you guys or even a recommendation. I'm not even recommending it. I'm just giving you some insight in behind the scenes of what I do. Some ministries would rather it just be a JPEG image, which I think is fine too. For me, the reason why I do that on mine is because I do like the animation of it. Now, I could have done that same animation in FreeShow and duplicated the slide that way. I'm just probably, believe it or not, which is kind of funny, I'm probably more proficient as a video editor than I am a slide creator. So making slides in FreeShow is not something I specialize in. Making slides in Keynote or PowerPoint is not something I specialize in, but editing video is something I specialize in. So I'm really comfortable editing in DaVinci Resolve and making graphics move and all that kind of stuff pretty simply, right? So that's why I lean on that. Some of you all may have people on your team that are really good at using Canva. And so let me pull up. We're talking about beginner level stuff. So let me make sure we show the beginner level. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on this here for you guys so you can see that. I know it's blocking a little bit, but we're talking about beginner level stuff. So I want to make sure that's available for you guys to understand what we're dealing with. We got a comment here from Miss Smith 4241, just trying to learn how to create and play them. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about that. That's a very good point. And so for me, like I told you guys, I use my videos in the format of, I'm going to do it this way. Do a split share. I use my videos in the format as what people would typically use a slide. But like I said, I'm more proficient as a video editor. So I'll make all these as separate videos and then I'll bring those in the FreeShow, which I love. It can play pictures and or videos. But the key to this is when you set these up, whatever you do, and if you got images, if you just got FreeShow slides that you've created, or if you've got videos, the key to make sure that it goes through, and it basically announcements to me, especially as a countdown timer, they need to loop on their own. So each one of these particular slides needs to have the option for we call it slide actions. So if you go to slide actions, you'll see this little option here near the bottom that says next on media finish. You'll see that on your videos. Okay, so anytime you got a video playing, you don't want it to go to the next one after 5 seconds. You want it to go after the video's done playing. And so that's why that one is set as next on media finish. And you'll see that little arrow icon on all of these because all of these are videos. All right. And so I've got mine set up that way. Now for you with the images, if you, let's say you just had a whole slideshow of announcements that were just images, and I'm going to go to my shows and I've got one just called announcements here, I believe. Let's see here. This is one, this is generic announcements. All right. Now notice there's no arrow like you saw on my FreeShow countdown here. Okay, with this one, you'll see the timer. You'll see 4 seconds. Now, the quick way to do this is if you've got a series, these are just slides that I made in FreeShow completely. And you can go down here to this option. It looks like a little clock. It's a timer. And you can set how long each slide goes for. So I can change this to be 6 seconds. All right. And it says hey, the duration, if you make it 6 seconds, applied to all, it's going to be 24 seconds. And then I don't know what this, it says apply to all. So it makes the total thing 24 seconds. The current duration is 16 seconds. That's what it's telling me. Okay. I'm like, I don't know what the 16 is, but yeah. So 4 times 4, because I got 4 slides, is 16. 4 times 6 seconds is 24. And so I'm going to do that. And now, oh, I forgot to select it. Let me change it. If I go here, you got to select it to 6 and then you say apply to all. And now you'll see these all say 6 seconds. And what that means is now when I select this, you're going to see that timer come up and you're going to see this particular show happen and it's going to process and it's going to go to the next slide after 6 seconds. All right. And there it goes. And it's going on to the next one. All right. And this is a simple way to make announcements. I just got it called upcoming. And then I got this one doing a little animation in. All right. And these are just literal slides. If I go to edit, you'll see that these are just slides, and this one just has an animation on it, or transition, I should say. So if I go here to transitions, you'll see it's just a scale transition that I love. Honestly, it's like a zoom in, zoom out type thing. It's a 1 second duration, and it's set to flow. And that's what I did with that. And then this is just text. It's just regular text up here. It's a slide, text slide, text, it's text as a part of a slide. And then this is text down here that just has a transition to it. Okay. And so it loops every 6 seconds, and you'll see the timer down there. And after 6 seconds, it just goes to the next slide. This is the basic slide that you can make. I made this slideshow probably 8 or 9 months ago. I don't know when it was, but this is my template for using. So yeah, you see February. So it was in February. So literally 8 months ago. But this is a simple way you can make it just using the slides like you would make a slideshow in PowerPoint. All right. Let's see here. And then Steve Bainey says, are the gray overlays, top left, bottom left, coming from OBS, or does OBS get them from FreeShow? So those are a part of FreeShow coming into OBS through NDI. All right, so let's talk about that. Let me clear out that little timer that's blocking everything. All right, there we go. I think I got that timer as a part of the, it's built into, no, it's not a part of the show. I'm not sure why that's still there. It should have gone away, but, it's an overlay. That's why. And so if I go down here, you'll see this 10-minute training timer. I can select that and it'll go away. And this over here just stops it from counting. All right. But so what Steve is asking about is these gray bars at the top of me here and at the bottom down there. How did those get into my live stream, for example, in this situation, right? And for you guys that are doing live streaming, what I've done is I've literally made a live stream output. And so this is what it looks like. But if I right click on that and go to edit, you'll see that, and I'll pull this to be full screen share. You'll see here that with that, I just right clicked on this and my live training 2 style, okay, is set to just show overlays. It doesn't show slides. It doesn't show backgrounds. Those are all deactivated. And the only thing active is overlays. And that's what I do for my live stream is I'll show that. Now for your ministry, you're going to likely want to show scriptures. You're going to likely want to show lyrics. So I would turn on slides, but for me, they're more distracting because I'm just doing a YouTube video. So it's not necessary. The thing that's going to be OBS related specifically is me in this little circle that you see down here at the bottom. That's only in OBS. That has nothing to do with FreeShow. But I positioned that and created that in OBS, connected my camera to my computer with a capture card that does that. Okay. But for the gray stuff there, that's actually coming from FreeShow. And let me share, I'll try to share my OBS screen so you guys can see what that looks like. Some exit full screen here, and I'll pull this up. You're going to see some duplicate stuff, but hopefully it'll make sense. All right. So what I've got here is I've got my sources. I've got my top screen. This my first layer, which is basically the screen that I'm showing you guys. And then I've got the FreeShow live stream. And if I turn that off, you'll see those go away. Okay. I didn't turn them off in FreeShow. They're still active in FreeShow, but it's OBS as a source. So I can deactivate or reactivate that source. Then I got my circle camera here, which is me down at the bottom. I can turn that on or off as well. Okay. Now, when it comes to FreeShow, what this is, if I right click on that and I go to properties, all I did was go to NDI and I've made it an NDI from FreeShow, and I just selected my FreeShow or live training 2 from FreeShow. And so that's what's here. And I hit OK. To add your own, you would hit this little plus sign. Okay. To add your own NDI source, you would hit the plus sign and you would select NDI source. That's a little bit of a bunny trail to a short question, but it's a long answer because you also need to make sure you've downloaded the NDI. They call it distro AV NDI. And you would get that off of GitHub for OBS. And it seems like a really roundabout way to make all that work, but it's a set it and forget it. It's a one-time thing. You don't have to do that every week, but it's just a setup, right? It's like when you get your phone, you got to take some time and set things up and, download all the apps and all that. This is kind of like that. This is a set it and forget it, which is something I'm gonna probably make one of my next videos be about, is all the different things you need to set and forget in FreeShow to get started properly. Because I think a lot of times you just want to jump in and want everything to be easy, and it can be easy. But there's some things you really need to set up. And I've made some some courses on that on my website. I think it was one that's called the Getting Started Guide for Leaders. It's basically laying the right foundation, because as a media leader, media team leader, your goal is really to let me minimize that. Your goal is really to set up your team for success. Okay, that's what I would say is most important as a media leader: setting your team up, your volunteer team, whoever it is, setting them up for success. And there's a lot of things that you're going to need to do to get Free Show up and running effectively. Now you can just open it up and start working with it for sure. But to get it set up properly where it's easy to use and all that kind of stuff, it's a really cool idea to set it up so that there's things that are in place. Okay. And that's what this is about. This is in place as an output, and I don't do anything with it any other time. It's already set. I just make sure it's active. I enable it as a output. So my live 2 training is here. When I turn it on, it's already set to where those overlays are the only thing that's going to show. Okay. Let's see here. We got some good comments going on. Let's see here. Just trying to learn. Steve Bain says, AK Vaspo, feature request. Wish Free Show had a transition like Magic Move in Keynote and Morph in PowerPoint. Makes things move, resize smoothly when advancing between slides. Future feature question mark. And Christopher says, it's requested on GitHub already, but that's not simple to do. I can imagine that it is not a simple thing to do, which is one of the things I really appreciate about programs like PowerPoint, Keynote, and the like, right? And even like DaVinci Resolve, they've got that kind of stuff. Those things are pretty complex because there's so many frames in that. For me, from a video editing standpoint, I look at it in terms of there's just a lot going on in that has to change. And that is, I don't know how you do that in a coding world, but it seems pretty intricate to make that be created. And the question you have to ask, I know for me, is what kind of load is that going to put on my processor, whether it's my CPU or my graphic processor, to make that work well. But yeah, I love the idea, Steve. I'm looking forward to the day. But I think that it definitely takes some work, and I think we got a good team developing and growing all the time. So, hey, who knows when that'll be there. All right. So beginning with a intro announcement slideshow, the main thing is getting your slides. Let's say they're all Free Show slides. You make those by going to, you start a show, so you can go down to your show and you hit new show, and then you just start typing out what you want to have in your announcement slides, right? So maybe you got a birthday list, you add that in. Maybe you got an upcoming bake sale, or maybe you've got an upcoming Bible study session or something like that. For me, when I think about announcements, I think about reoccurring things and then the one-offs, right? So maybe you all have a trunk or treat or a big Christmas play coming up or something along those lines. Those things need to be in there with the dates a month or 2 out, right? So people can see those. But then there's other things that are regular things that happen every week, right? Or every month, whatever, right? The men's meeting and all that kind of stuff. Like I've got here, like prayer, men's meeting, youth Sunday, outreach. Those things are pretty common in a lot of ministries. And so those things can be there and they live there. You just make a slide that has it, put a nice little transition on it, on that text box, and then you just make it to where you set it here, to where you set a timer for each slide. Now, once you set the timer for each slide, if you do it this way by clicking this, it'll automatically add in this option that says go to start. Okay. And this is the last part to where it'll loop. So maybe you've got a 10-minute, time frame before your service starts, and you want to run these announcements for 10 minutes. You don't want them to stop when they get to the end and just sit there or go to a black screen. So you need to make sure you have this loop or return to start. And the way you can do that manually, you can go here. You can go to slide actions again, and you'll see an option that says go to start. And it shows that little icon with the little loop arrow, I call it like a little refresh arrow. It just refreshes this, goes back to the show. All right. Which is important. Okay. Because we get to this advanced level, which we'll talk about later on, is having a lobby loop. Okay. So we'll talk about that in a little while. But what questions do you guys have about beginning with the beginner level of a slide announcement show or announcement show? And so I've done some variations of it, and let's do one from scratch just to show you guys how simple it is. So I can say a new show, and I'm going to say announcements. This will be like my third version of it. We'll say 1025, and it'll go on my announcements. That's perfect. And you can even do quick lyrics if you want to. I'm going to do an empty show. because I want to kind of format it. So I got my announcements, 10:25, and I'm going to do new show. And now it gives me a blank slide like what you would see in PowerPoint or Keynote or something like that. And I just hit new text box. So from your items, I just hit text box here. You can put cameras and all that kind of stuff in there if you want to, which is kind of fun. So if you want to show some portion on your, on your announcements, a camera feed in there, you can do that. I think that makes it less general, which is totally up to you though, which it can be cool though, because especially if you got this in the lobby, you can have the announcements right next to a camera feed and people can still see the sermon, but they also can see these announcements, which I like that a lot too. All right. And so, so we type something in here. I'm gonna make this be kind of like what I already created. So I'm gonna do up here. We're gonna call this one, let's say this month. And I got my caps on, so that's why it's doing that. All right. So this month, ... And then I'm gonna do another text box. And this one is going to be below that. So I'm gonna format it to where it's not overlapping at all. And so this month we're gonna have first Friday prayer. And then below that, it'll be at 7 p.m. And I'm gonna say at main campus. All right. And then we'll do another slide. And you notice it keeps those default text boxes for me, which is really helpful. All right. And I can say this month again. And then this one will be second Friday. I spelled that out. So we'll do second Friday women's meeting. And we'll say that one's going to be at 7 p.m. as well. And we'll say at main campus again. All right. And so these are just basic generic slides, right? And so I'll do new slide. We'll do the same thing. We'll do third Friday. Oh, this is this month. Men's meeting. And then we'll do 7 p.m. and we'll say at main campus. Right. And so we let people know those things. These are the basic things. You all might have fancy pictures and all that kind of stuff. You can bring in images to these if you wanted to. So if I said item, actually go to items here and I can say media and I can go in and I can find some images. Let me see if I got any pictures of, I'll try to see if I got a picture of my big head in here that I can use. Let's see here. I don't think I do. I think I had, okay, here's a headshot. Okay. So this is for the men's meeting. We'll use this picture. All right. And for me, what I would recommend you do is probably do something like on Canva where you remove the background, which would be pretty cool, right? And then I would just make this be a little bit smaller, bring that in. It could be in the corner over here. And then, or let's put it on this side. It looks like it fits better that way. I'm kind of facing that way already. All right. So you have your images in there. You can do all that kind of stuff in FreeShow. And what I did earlier, like I told you guys, I actually went into here and I added a transition. So I can go to transitions. And my favorite, like I said, is the scale. I like to turn it up to be at 1 second. And that comes in. And I'll do the same thing on this one. Let me see any comments here. Let's see here. Steve Bain says, can FreeShow launch or control another app such as Spotify if we want to play music? That's a good question. Somebody asked me that in a meeting I was in with someone. And it says, while other slides advance on the timer that you showed, or is there another better way to have FreeShow play music, play background music? So for me, Spotify is unique, right? And so if Christopher's still on, he can speak to Spotify. I was playing with a way to do that because I had a client that I was working with asked me about that. And I wouldn't say that it's possible in FreeShow just yet, as far as I can tell, but you can stream like radio stations, which we talked about last week. Let me do, I'll go here. And so you can stream like radio stations, which we discussed in our last FreeShow Friday. So check that one out if you haven't already. And that one's integrated into FreeShow. And you can just activate it and you can let it run in the background, just like you would like a Spotify plugin or something like that to your soundboard. What I would say do is consider ways to do it, because the goal is to keep it simple, right? So I don't know that it's simpler to run it through FreeShow, but to have it in the same control panel that's easy to access and control, I would probably consider running it on the computer, but using like what's it called? BitFocus Companion, the companion app, to control it, right? To pause it and play it and all that kind of stuff. Because what can happen if you run it through your phone and you only control it through your phone or through another computer only. I had I was talking to that client that they told me that they forgot to turn Spotify off when worship started in the in-ear monitors, right? They turned the slider down on the soundboard, so nobody in the church could hear Spotify, but it was still coming through the monitors full blast. So the musicians were listening to Spotify in one ear, or in their ear, along with the rest of the band and the worshipers and all that kind of stuff. And so it was very difficult for them. So during the break, they went to the sound person or sent a message or something and said, "Hey, can you have somebody turn off Spotify? Like stop it," instead of just turning it down on the main sliders on the soundboard. So yes and no. There is live streaming for radio stations that I know of through FreeShow. Okay, I say live streaming in terms of feed, like a Spotify feed, right? Like a live feed. But they will run commercials, which Spotify does too, especially if you don't have a paid subscription, right? But if you want to have like a Spotify playlist that you want to play, I don't know of a way you can control it through FreeShow without an additional program to help you control that. And that's where Companion comes in. For those who've seen me for any amount of time, let me see, I'll pull up my phone here. Let me see. Let's do here, and I'll show you guys my camera setup. And I'll go to media and I'll turn on my camera. All right. And so that comes here. And so you can see here, I use Companion to control FreeShow. And so let me turn off that slide. And all right, so this is what my Companion looks like. And this is where I was testing out that Spotify piece in here. It's not running out obviously right now. That's what that little red box means. But during my FreeShow Fridays, this is what I use to control everything. So I've got my title. I can clear the overlay so I can select that and it'll make everything go away. I can select that again and it'll bring up my announcements. I also have it here to where it brings up the beginner. You can see that pop up when I select it. And then the next topic is about adding audio, which we're going to get to. So Steve, you're right on point, but it also shows me my controls. This is how I record my videos for YouTube. It shows that I'm live. I just customize all these buttons. So if you want to see how I did that, I believe there's a video I made about BitFocus with FreeShow. So check that out. I think it's just called Companion, but here I can change my scenes. So this is where I'll hit talking head, right? And that's me. Split primary, you can see that there. And then split share, you can see that there. It's the same idea, same feel, or just a full share. And you can see it here. And all that's controlled through Companion on just an old iPad. I got this iPad mounted onto my camera stand, I guess you could say, with a suction cup. It's been the most reliable way I found. And that's just like a magic arm, I think it is. It's a little magic arm that you can, it just kind of clamps on. It's a clamp on one end up there. And then up under here, I just got a suction cup that my wife bought me actually for Christmas or something like that. And that's holding up the iPad right next to my desk here. And this is my split extend. If you guys haven't got one, make sure to get you one. Really good resource for running multiple monitors. That's how you can see my monitor in the back of me here. So when I go to this scene, that monitor back there is actually connected to this split extend on my my computer. Okay. And so hopefully that makes a little sense, Steve, to give you some insight into what I've got going on here. Let me turn that off somehow. Let's go to full share. All right. And then let's turn that off. And boom. All right. And so that's what my setup looks like behind the scenes, which you guys don't get to see all the time. All right. But when it comes to, let's see, let me make sure everything else is FreeShow to play music in the background. Raja Abdullah Khan is on saying hello. Raja, tell us where you're from. Tayel is on. What's going on, Tayel? And we got, let's see here. Raja says good. Maybe saying this is good. Class is very well. Following from Kenya, big fun. Frank Terra XU2BR. Ex-YouTuber is what I think that means. Frank Terra, ex-YouTuber. I like that. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Frank, my friend from Kenya. What part of Kenya? I'm curious. And then Raja, tell us where you're from as well. All right. We love to hear it. We love to see where the community is connecting and growing. So that's a big deal. What I was doing earlier was I was setting up my slides. Okay. So I'll just do these 3 slides for now. So we got our 3 slides set up, and let me turn off I want to block that for you guys. So we got our 3 slides. I need to make sure I add in my transition for each slide though, because I do want this to do a scale up. Okay. So I'm gonna turn that to 1 second. And that's just because I made this slideshow in FreeShow. Okay. If you have your own videos or your own just graphics, you can do a scale up transition on those too. But it's totally up to you. All right. Which it would look pretty cool, I must admit. And so we'll hit this here, transition, and I'll show you guys what that'll be like too. I'll add in one more slide with just that. All right, so we got that. That's good to go. And let me go into my media, and I'll see if I think I got a picture of I think in my downloads, I got some background. So we'll do one of these. So I'll add one of these into my show. If I go here, we'll add this in. All right. So if I go back to edit, I think, let me see. Let's go to show. If I right click on that, you go to transition, you'll see the same option. I'm gonna do a scale for that so you guys can see how that looks with just a graphic that you might have got off of Canva, which is what I do. I just create this stuff on Canva, so it's simple for me. But whatever works for you. Some people like to use Photoshop, which you guys are experts at that. My wife is really good at Illustrator, so she does all her stuff on there. We got Larry Sweeting in. What's going on? Larry from Kentucky. Louisville, right? I think I'm saying that right. Louisville, Kentucky. All right. Let me make sure I got all of my transitions on all of my slides here. This one's got it. And I say all my slides. My transition on my individual text here. I like the way it comes in on the text here. On the slides, you would go out here, you can right click and you can add the transition that you want. So for me, we'll do a spin for the whole thing. We'll do a spin transition. All right. And we'll do another one here. And actually, let me see. I think you can I hold down? Yeah, I can hold down. Let me see if it'll do for both of these. I just held down Command, and I'm gonna do a transition just the same way for all these. Hopefully, let's see. All right, so I select that. And so yes, so you can select all of yours and just do the transition edition one time, and it'll do that. All right, so now I've got all these done, but I have not added the loop, right, to where they're automatically gonna play. So now I gotta go down to this little timer icon. I hit that, and I say, I don't want it to be 10 seconds. I want it to be short and sweet, so we'll do 4 seconds. All right. And now that's ready to go. And we can go ahead and start the show. Now, I don't see, I keep forgetting to do that. So when you guys do the timer thing, make sure you hit apply. I keep forgetting to do that and I close out. So you hit that and then hit apply to all. Boom. And you'll see your timer 5 seconds on each of these. If you want to take it off on one, you just simply hit it where you hover over it and make it go red, and it'll allow you to remove it. Okay. I don't want to remove anything. So I'm gonna keep it all there. And I'm going to simply select play. So I'll select this first one and it plays, and you'll see that this month kind of spun around in there. And let me go to the primary so you guys can see it. And you guys can still hear me, but that's what it looks like. And I'll turn on my circle mask so you guys can see me there. All right. So yeah, so this is what it would look like. This is with no backgrounds, nothing special on the backgrounds. I'll put one back there in a second, but I want you guys to see. So it's spinning around, spinning in. I'm all in the way over there. Uh-oh. Let me pull my big head out the way on top of my other face there. And so you see that one coming in. This is what is going to loop inside of the service as your announcements come in. Now, this is interesting because what ended up happening was the graphic stayed, the background graphic stayed there. I don't want that. So we need to change that. So let me go into full share so you guys can see what's going on here. That background, this graphic right here acted like it was a background graphic. We don't want that. All right. So I got to figure out how to make this not be a background graphic. And the best way I know to do that is to go in. Let me see if I go to right click on this and hit edit. It brings us here. I don't think I can do the edit I want to in here because I want to get it to where I can see the setting options for this. Let me see what this does. Text edit. No. Let me pull this down. I'm just exploring if there's other ways to do it. On here, no. So it's not showing anything. It's just there as a background item. So for that to work a better way, you would go back into your media. This the one here. So if I right click on this, I can do an edit from here. All right. And from here, you get an option to say type. And so you can say it's a background or a foreground. I want it to be a foreground item. So now when I update, you notice that it went away. Okay. It came away. And now I'll put in a background item. So I'll go to my shows and I'll go to my yellow box files and we'll find a grunge background. This is something you can also get on my website. We'll do brick wall. I like the brick wall. Okay. And so now you got the graphic showing up there. Okay. And then it goes to this and they see it on a brick wall. All right. This is what your in-house audience will see. And if you wanted to, you would send this out to the live stream as well. All right. Steve says he's got to go. No problem, my friend. And thanks, regular size Gary, for the awesome help. Y'all are hilarious with that. That cracks me up. I love it. All right. And so this is how you would make a general, simple announcement slide in FreeShow. The key elements are making your slides, whether they're graphics, videos, or just slides from FreeShow. And then for everything that's not a video, you want to put in a timer. So you can go here and just do it for every slide, especially if you did them all in FreeShow. You can go down here and you just pick the length of time you want it to be, and it'll automatically make that last one do a go back to start. But if you want to do them individually, some you want to be longer than others, you can do it manually by right-clicking on each slide and go to slide actions, and you can go to the next slide timer. How much time before it goes to the next slide? On videos, you want to make it go next on media finish. And that way your video that's 1 minute long or 20 seconds long, it'll finish and then it'll go to the next slide. All right. So that's the basics. Now let's talk about adding audio. This is what was asked. So adding audio to your announcements is something I think a lot of us like to do and would like to have. I love the idea. And what I typically do is I will download music from a website that I can trust that will allow me to stream it. So I use Artlist subscription. They're definitely not a sponsor. I just use them for my video projects that I use as I'm a videographer, so I make videos for documentaries and things like that. Let me pull this out of the way. I'm not sure why that was on full screen. That's weird. All right. But it popped up over oh, I know why. So yeah, that makes sense. So it was shown as a foreground item in the show. Interesting. Very interesting. So if I go to edit and I turn this, so it's an overlay. Interesting. So it treats that foreground image like an overlay is what it seems like. Very interesting. I never noticed that. I tried that before. Okay, so let me go here. I'm going to turn off the slides and I basically want to stop the show. So I'll just pause it. We'll just stop the show there. All right. For audio though, you can go to your audio tab. And if you've downloaded music to your computer, like I said, I've used Artlist in the past. So all my music that you hear on my intro for my live stream, it's all copyright free. Like I have the universal copyright or whatever it is. So it can play it on YouTube and not be demonetized or anything like that. For a lot of the music we like to play, you want to be mindful because if you're playing popular music that's streaming through Spotify or something like that, you don't have the rights to that music. So it will likely get it booted off of Facebook or something like that. I don't do a lot of live streaming. I don't do any live streaming on Instagram. YouTube will not boot it off, but they'll just make sure it's not going to be monetized or be able to be monetized, but it will attribute the artists that are playing in that. So you'll get a little flag or something like that. They don't disqualify you with the flag. They're just saying, hey, just FYI, until you take this music off, you're not going to be able to potentially have this count towards anything related to you being monetized. Okay. Now, when it comes to your music files, you would go down at the very bottom, you can add a folder and just point it to the folder that you've downloaded your music. You see here, I got a Fairlight sound library. That's my DaVinci Resolve library for audio. And then I've got downloads and I've got downloaded music. I've also got a music folder on my computer. These are just folders on my computer and you can go in those and you can make your own sound effects. So I don't have a lot of music in here. Like this is just a few little pieces, but let's see, downloaded music. These are the ones I've downloaded. And if I wanted to make a playlist, I can just hit new playlist and it'll automatically make this be in the playlist, all these here. But I can also make a new playlist on the left side. So I'm gonna call this one training list. And then I can go back into that downloaded music and I can just drag these in. All right. So this is going to go in there. This one's going to go in there. And like I said, this is just making a playlist of the files that are already on my computer. You notice they still stay in the same place they were at, in the downloaded music, but I'm making a playlist or a folder of this music. Okay. And so you can do that. So then when you go in there, I don't have rights to For Your Glory, by the way, so I'm not going to play that. But this one I do. This is just an instrumental. I believe I have access to or rights to that, but that's a song. And so now if you want to have your playlist play during your announcements or intro, countdown, or whatever you want to call it, all you would do is just drag the playlist onto the first slide. And it didn't do it because I didn't drag it right. Uh-oh. I'm doing all kinds of the wrong thing. Let me see here. Usually you can just drag it on there. Let me make sure I'm doing that right. I'm not sure why it's not letting me drag that on there. Because I know you can drag a song. So you can drag a song in there. But I thought I could drag a playlist. And Christopher, if you're still on there, let me know. Anybody else, if you guys ever drag the playlist, it could be because I'm in a beta that it's not letting me do that. I'm not sure. Let me see what we got in the comments here. Tayo says, I came in late. Since we are looking at creating announcements, I would like to pick your brain on something else. I know it's easy to create intro and outro through a video editor. I would like to know, how would you create ideas for church intro and outro composition only using FreeShow? I'm guilty of creating just regular thumbnails to picture before starting the stream. So creating regular thumbnail, creating just regular thumbnails to picture. So I'd like to know, how would you create ideas for a church intro and outro composition only using FreeShow? So I would say, and let me make sure, let me restate what I'm hearing you, or reading that you're saying, Tayel. It sounds like you're saying, how do we make a loop, basically a slideshow loop, before our service and after our service, or it sounds like an intro to the service, right? So before service starts, what would that look like? And you're saying only in FreeShow is what I think you're saying. Let's see here. Intro to outro composition only using FreeShow. I'm guilty of creating just regular thumbnails to pictures before starting the stream. That's where I'm getting lost. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so Christopher's commenting about the playlist. He said, I forgot to add that back after the recent user interface changes. But you can right click the slide and choose the slide action to start a playlist. Oh, okay. So if I right click on this and go to slide actions, there's an option here. Let's see here. Start action, and we can go to start playlist. And then I can pick a playlist. Okay, so this is a quick way to get your playlist going. Like I said, in the full version, he'll probably have it fixed to where you can drag it in, but you can just hit training list, and then I can close that out. And you'll notice up here now, I've got that music ready to get started playing. And so as soon as I click this first slide, the playlist is going to start. And if you notice down here, the playlist is automatically set to loop. I didn't do that manually, but let me make sure you guys can see that. So down here at the very bottom, you'll see that it's set to loop automatically. I didn't do that on my own. It's what I made the playlist. It automatically did that. Let me look. I think all of them are set to do that by default, which is great. So you don't have to worry about, like we did with the slides, you have to make sure to make them loop. With your playlist, it's set to do that. Now, some of you all might like to shuffle your playlist so it's not repetitively the same way every service. You can do that as well, but it'll play. Music will play, the slides will play, and everything is set to loop, right? So I've only got 2 songs on this playlist, and then they'll just loop, all right? Thanks for that feedback, Christopher. Back to Tayo's question. I don't know, Tayo, how would I make something strictly in FreeShow? I would probably just be creative with the background images, and I think with that, maybe that's what you're saying, is that you typically have to pick your brain on something else. I know it's easy to create intro and outro through a video editor. She says, I have my intro as a picture and then I start the stream for service. I was looking for ideas that can be implemented just with Free Show. I would say something like this. You can have it just be a picture, but I would make the picture just be some simple background and then have have words coming up and it's informing your audience, right? So if it's just an in-house intro, for example, still inform them. Like use your announcements to inform them. And I know we consider announcements to be something that's a part of the service. I'm looking at announcements as a live streamer saying, hey, they should be a part of your countdown. Okay, that's always what I've done when I've worked with ministries that are churches or just not third, I don't know what the word is, but they're ministries that are not a church. They're just a ministry. They're just a part of the body as well, but they serve and they minister outside of just a regular church service. They have, maybe they're catered towards women or they're catered towards men or they're catered towards young people. I always, when I assisted them with their live stream, we would always basically make flyers, right? Whether they were image flyers, right, that you've already got for upcoming events, I would make those be a part of the loop so people can be made aware. A giving flyer, right, letting people know how they can give with a little QR code so they can select that before service even starts. And then also links to, showing them how to get to your website, how to get connected. And like I said, just those upcoming things to me are major because as many touch points as you can manage is effective as you can be. And I think this is a major touch point. Like I said, for me, when I do my countdown intro, some of you all may watch it, some of you may not, but when you watch it, you're going to see past videos that I've made. You're going to see countries that are connected with Free Show in terms of the community, and you're going to see documentary teasers that I've made. So teasers for a documentary that I made, that's important to me. And so I put that in there because it's a way for me to touch point, to give you guys a heads up, an idea of what I've been doing and what this is all about for me is what that's about. So I would say still use your images and you can make them be general images, right? They don't have to be general backgrounds. They can be some of the fun. There's all kinds of cool online backgrounds you can create, images you can use that tell the story. But it's really cool to use images of the church too. So photos of the church, right? The young people and all that kind of stuff. I would use those and then put, a QR code for people to select to go to the website for the youth ministry or to sign up for the upcoming giveaway or whatever it may be. That would be my thoughts with it. And that may or may not have been addressing your question too well, but I think that's my thoughts on it, at least from what you're telling me. So there's a lot of ways to approach it. And to me, it really boils down to finding a space that you can be who you are. That's a big deal. So for me, I'm highly technical and I'm somewhat creative as needed, but I like to work with creative people. And then I'll add the technology to what they create. My wife is that she's highly creative. I'm highly technical. And so when she creates something, I just like to use that to embed. So when one of the churches I worked with as a media leader, one of the things I did, my wife was in charge of the thumbnails. She would just help design the thumbnails and she would design them like real time. Like she was making slides for us real time and airdropping them to us. And we would put those up in the middle of service, which is really crazy. Like she's that creative, right? And they were like high quality graphic stuff. Like it was crazy. She does crazy work. So when we were doing that, I relied on her for that. And I was just the one in charge of making sure that it got up seamlessly. Okay. So yeah, okay, good to hear, Tayo, that you're saying those ideas are helpful. But yeah, so and then the cool thing about Free Show, when you talk about trying to use it solely, is managing those transitions. Use those transitions to kind of give some life to those still background images, like I did here, to where those will play through. And even with the images, you can put transitions on those, like we did, to where they can zoom in or spin in or whatever you wanted to do, and it'll capture people's attention a little bit better, especially while they're mingling. Because typically in church fellowships, especially, one of the things that's going to happen is people are going to be connecting. They're going to be communicating. If there's not something going on this set as a part of the service, people are going to usually find themselves connecting with the people that they're close to and talking and having that good time. Some churches drink coffee and have a coffee shop. Other churches, they'll have a time where you talk to your neighbor. Other churches, they just have, like I know in the church I had, we just had our countdown timer that was for our live stream playing in the middle of the service, right? So the people in church can see we're going to be starting in 10 minutes. So talk as much as you want to and have fun and all that kind of stuff. And I know some ministries like to play like a video feed of what's going on in the service. I'm not a big fan, but I get it. That's a cool way to have some connection with your online audience. I would even rather just play, like you said, some type of video intro video or something like that that your pastor or somebody on the team, the leadership team has recorded, pre-recorded. You could even have a fun way. Like I said, I know it's not all free show, so I'm deviating now. This is my creative brain going. But you could even have like a fun video where you just have all the staff just record on a phone camera, just record them saying, "Hi, welcome to the church," right? Individually. "Hi, welcome to such and such. Hi, welcome to the church. Hi, welcome to the church. Hi, welcome to," and just have that loop for however long. It might be 30 seconds, 50 seconds worth of stuff, and then do the same thing with all the young people in the church. "Hi, welcome, hi, welcome, hi, welcome." And it's just showing this variety and this love and this atmosphere of all these people. So as a video editor, I can be pretty creative as a director. So that's where my mind always deviates to video. So that would be a cool thing to do as well. Okay. Just creatively speaking, not quite only it's not only in FreeShow, but you can easily add that in the FreeShow once you make it. Okay. And so, and I'm trying to think, you could record those on your phone individually and never edit them and just put them into FreeShow as individual videos and make it loop pretty easily too. So it doesn't require a second or third party app to do that, which is pretty cool. All right. So yes, you can do that pretty much in FreeShow, record them on your phone, save them to your computer, and then just drag it into FreeShow as individual slides. And in between it, maybe you can put like a youth flyer or something like that. And then it cuts to all the youth saying hi, right? And those would just be individual videos. So yeah, it's possible. All right. The main thing with these is making sure you put a timer for them and then that loop back, and that makes it automatically loop. All right. Now we get into our advanced level. So hopefully we haven't lost anybody yet, but we talked about how to approach announcements at a beginner level, just making a FreeShow slideshow. Okay. Then we moved into adding audio, which was in our audio tab here, getting some music, right? That is on your computer. So getting, back in, I know for me, I used to burn CDs and put those on my computer all the time. I would burn them into or rip them, I guess you could say, or rip the CDs into my computer. I haven't done that in a long time because my computer doesn't have a CD burner anymore. I wish they would bring that back, but that's a whole nother story. We don't even buy CDs. We mostly use Spotify, a lot of ministries, or Amazon Music, maybe. I've not been a part of ministry that does that. Some use iTunes though, or Apple Music. I don't know what it's called now. It used to be iTunes, Apple Music, where you're playing music, this popular music, through the soundboard connected to a phone or a computer. You can do that, and you wouldn't necessarily even need FreeShow to do that. I would just connect it to your soundboard and let it play, and then they're separate. So now you got your slideshow separate from your music, which that's fine. But if you can have it on your computer, that's even simpler, because when you stop that slideshow, the music, you can make it to where it automatically stops with it. Okay. And I say automatically, you would make an action that says, when you get to the next slide, it'll stop, it'll clear the music. Okay. So that's something that's pretty cool. Now we're getting into the lobby loop. All right. So the lobby loop is something that's unique because your lobby loop can be this, but it's not your primary. Okay. It's not your primary screen. So what I would say we would do is we will make another output. So I'm going to go into my settings, and I'm going to go to outputs, and I'm going to make a new output, and I'm just going to call it lobby. I'm going to go normal, and we're going to do default because we wanted to show everything. The default shows all your slides and all that good stuff. All right. And let me clear this out. Well, let me clear it out here because it's showing up on my main screen. So I want this to actually not here. I want it to be an invisible window. So I'm going to turn on NDI with it, and it goes away. Okay. So it's just invisible for now. Transparent is not that important, but actually I do want it to be transparent. And then right here, it shouldn't be showing up over everything, but it's showing up right now over my, my screen down here. All right. So we got this output. I need to rename it. So I'm going to rename it here as lobby. All right. And I've kept my caps on. That's why it's all caps like that. I kind of like that. Keeps it simple for me to see. So I got an output that's enabled. I enabled NDI. I don't need audio, but I'll keep it off. I'll keep it off. All right. So here's the deal. I've got my primary right now running back here on my my screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch them out. So my primary, I'm going to turn it to where it's not running on that. Edit. And I'm going to turn this one on to be an invisible window, and that's fine. Let's turn that back off real quick. Hold on. I want to where it's not always on top, and we'll make it be here. So it's there, but it's showing up back here still behind me. But the idea is I'm gonna make this one be back there. So if I go back to here, I can right click on this, edit, and we'll make this one not be an invisible window. And we're gonna pick a screen for it, which is this one. And I'll close that out. And we'll make it always be on top, which is fine. And then we'll go to show. If I go here, you'll see that that's there. Now music started playing. Let me pause that. I don't want the music to play. Not online. Let me see. I'll pull it down online for you guys. All right. And I got it down to 9%. So it wasn't loud, but it was playing. So we got the loop going on. In-house though, this is what's going on. Okay. This is my primary in-house. This is my live stream. My live stream right now, I'm not going to act like that needs to be seen on live because the live is going to mirror what's going on in primary. All right. But what we're going to do next is I'm going to have my lobby loop, which is here. I'm going to lock it. Okay. And the way to lock it is I can just select that up there and it basically locks it out. Now I can go to another screen and I can go to a whole nother show. And notice here, in-house, we're seeing the scripture from Exodus 2, chapter 2, verse 1. And then on the lobby, we're seeing this thing continuing to loop. This output is running behind me. So let me go to, well, you guys can see it, but let me go to my split here. So this is what, well, I guess I'll pull it this way. That's the primary. Let me go to split share. All right. So right now, this is what's going on in-house. But behind me, you can see that that's what's going on the in the lobby. Okay. And it's running. And I think it's at a 6-second timer. I'm not sure what it's set to. Let me see. It should not have stopped, but it seems like it did. Let's go back here. So it seems like the lobby stopped and I don't want it to. So I don't know why it did though. Let me go back and see. This month, that's fine. If I go here, it's still set to loop every 5 seconds and play. That's good. So if I undo this, it should have never stopped. Let's see here. Larry Sweeney says, can I add pictures from my iPhone into USB of my computer to add to FreeShow, or how does that work? Good question, Larry. Yeah, I'm not sure why this didn't. It's set to loop back, which is good. Let me start this back up. All right, so I'm gonna lock that off on the lobby. I'll go here. You guys can see behind me that the lobby should be changing. All right, you see it back there animating, and it should just continue to play through. Even though in-house, we're seeing something like this. Okay, same bricks, but whole different setup, and that's just what's going on out there. And you can see my little picture back there. That's the one that's playing there. So when you lock off your announcement, or in this case, your intro, whatever you want to call it, it will automatically continue to loop on that same show, which is what I expected to do, as you can see here. But in-house, what you're dealing with is everything else is going to continue to go as normal. And this one's getting hung up on something. I'm not sure what's causing it. Oh. Yeah, it should go automatically on to the next one. I don't know if it's the music. It's not the, let's take the music out of it. The music is set to loop. But it's like it's got a second part of that animation here. And I'm not sure why that's getting stuck right there, because it should automatically go back and start back up like it normally does, but it is not. That could be a beta thing. I'm using beta. So I'll chalk it up to that because before, I don't think I was using this beta. I'm using beta 3 right now. It would loop through and just play nonstop, which is what I would expect from a full version. So if you're in 1.5.0, that'll work. You just lock it off with the title up there and it'll automatically go through. That's more of an advanced level piece, but it's something that if you got your wiring set up appropriately or your connection set up, you can do that. Now, going back to Larry's question, can I add pictures from my phone into USB of my laptop? You know what? It really is going to depend on the phone you use. So I'm not sure. It really is going to vary. What I would say is probably the most reliable way to get pictures is to email them. I would recommend you email them to yourself, pretty quick and easy, or email them to that church computer, and then you can download them to the computer. I'm trying to think about another way. Another way is to do like upload them to a shared drive, like a Google Drive, or I know Apple's got their, I don't know what their stuff is called. They got a drive thing. I'm not sure what it's called, but I would recommend doing it, like sharing it on some web interface, whether it's an email or like a Google Drive or Google Photos or whatever you may have. I've got a website that's all dedicated to photos as a photographer that I upload all my photos to, and then I can go and download them from any computer because I can just log into that website. So wherever you can put your pictures, I would put them somewhere online and then download them onto that main computer in the church to get them off. But USB could work on some phones. I don't think it'll work on my iPhone. I got an older iPhone 13 mini. It's a mini phone. It has their Thunderbolt cable. And I think if I plug it up to my computer, I would probably have to trust the computer, and then I think I'll have to go into iTunes or something. I don't know. I've never really done that for that. But with Apple to Apple, so iPhone to Apple computers, the simplest way is to just AirDrop it, right? So if you've got an Apple iPhone or Apple iPad with an Apple computer, even if it's a desktop, Mac Mini, a laptop, it'll work the same. Even an iMac, just little screen thing that they've got, you can go to your settings on your phone, or go to a picture, I should say, and then say share, and it'll give you an option to say AirDrop, and it'll find local devices that are Apple devices nearby, and it'll let you pick them, and it'll just drop it to them, basically like a download, a wireless cord. Basically is what I like. So AirDrop is what I typically do from computer to computer or from phone to computer, because it's like plugging up a USB. I think some Android phones should let you do that because they'll have like SD card in there. So it should be able to read that SD card when you plug it up, and you can find your files that way. It's just hard to say because every phone's so different. All right, let's see here. Leeson9759. Leeson, okay, says, I am a little late, but can you go over how to submit a request for a new feature? Great question. Great question. So we're done dealing with the lobby loop. Hopefully you guys understood what we did here. Basically, we set this up to where it's going to automatically loop. Like I said, I'm using the beta. I haven't got to test it out on the beta, but I did test it out on 1.5.0, and it works great to where this would continue to loop. For some reason, it's reading something special here. I'm not sure. You know what? Let me see. I think I got an idea. Let me do edit. And if I go to the style, background, that's fine. There's no max lines here. So it looks like it's showing like a max line thing, but that's not it. So I'm not sure what's causing that to do that. But going back to Leeson's question. So if you go to, I'm going to go to freeshow.app. So this is the website, freeshow.app. Oh, did I spell it right? I'm going to do www. Okay. Let's just do a search for FreeShow. All right. So it's freeshow.app. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong, but freeshow.app, this is the main page for FreeShow, and I'll make it big. The idea is if you go to, and let me clear this out, and I'll just put in. All right. So on the main page, it's not real intuitive to see, but right here, this little kitty cat thing looks like a kitty cat, at least. That's the logo for, what's it called? GitHub. That's it. So it's the GitHub logo. This is where you'll go, and you just go to the option that says issues, and then you'll select new issue, right here. And then when you create a new issue, and I think I made one recently. So this is me. That's live polls. So this is all the open issues. If I go to closed issues here, so this is an issue I submitted. And basically I described what it was. I said, when I create a new output and try to rename it, the title jumps back to the original output title. And then I made a YouTube video and just shared the link here, but you want to make sure to describe or show screenshots or something. I make videos because it's simpler for me of what it is that you're seeing as the issue. And this is, like I said, for an issue ticket, right? But you can do it for a new feature too. We'll talk about how to do that too. But then the version, it's helpful to put in what type of computer you're using in the version, along with type of FreeShow version you're using as well. All right. So when I click this option that says new issue, though, it gives me some options. You can say bug report or feature request. So if you select the feature request, which is what you're talking about, you would title it some, way to describe your feature, obviously, and then describe the feature here in detail, and then add additional context, maybe some screenshots or some mock-ups, maybe some ideas of what you got. You can put all that in there. Okay. You can even put images in here by just dragging them in. You can see down here, or you can do you can click on this and it'll pop up to connect you to your computer to put things in. All right. So that would be the way that you would create a ticket for a new feature. What other questions do you all have for me as we wrap up here? We've been talking all about announcement slides from a beginner level to an even more advanced level. A lot of key takeaways. Hopefully you guys that have been on can appreciate and take away some things that you can use for your upcoming weeks using FreeShow. And have more confidence to do it. That's the goal. I want you guys to have some confidence as you approach FreeShow. That's what FreeShow Friday is all about. And it's about us all growing together. So thank you all for the feedback. Those who came in, asked questions. Those who came in and Christopher was on. He's the developer of FreeShow. He was able to give us some feedback on some tips and things with the new equalizer feature that's in there, even with how to add in your playlist. Even if you can't drag it in, you can still right click and do a slide action there as well. All right. So with that being said, you guys have a great rest of the day. Have a great weekend, and God bless you all very, very much. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope it helped you in a major way. Now, at this point, most people would ask you to like and subscribe, and I think that's great. But my goal is a little bit different. My goal is to empower as many people as possible all over the globe. And there's one way that you can really help me do that, and that is to leave a comment below with a question, a thought, how this video may have helped you, or things that were left out that you still have questions about, and to share this video with someone just like you, someone who is looking for answers, someone who's curious and wants to grow. With your help, I believe we can build a community of people that want to grow together. So until next time, God bless.